Welcome to the next episode of the Student Physio podcast. My name is Damien. Going to keep this intro nice and short today because I want to get straight into the video. This is an additional episode to the one we normally do. We're starting a brand new series, which is we're going to explain in just a moment. And as I have said a couple of times on our Instagram page, Student Physio Podcast, if you're not already following it, we've got an exciting announcement today. So we'd love to for you to follow us on Student Physio Podcast on Instagram and comment there and link, tag us and everything like that. For any of your posts that are relevant to what we do, and comment on what we do and give us some feedback and all that kind of stuff, so that we can continue to understand what it is you want from this podcast, and we'll continue to kind of develop it and so on and so forth. The reason I keep saying we is that I have a brand new co-host, which I'm going to introduce to you, and I'm very much looking forward to working with her. She and I have become friends, and I think that it's a very exciting development. One of the reasons why I've decided to go with a co-host is that I am a student, a physio student, but I'm of a certain age, and I have a certain background, and my new co-host is very different to me. So we bring different things to the table. We hopefully will have different ideas, and we will be looking at some different ways of communicating and different ways of discussing this podcast and what we're going to do taking forward. So please let me introduce to you new co-host Sophie.
Woo! Hello everyone, glad to be here.
Nice to have you,
So
Sophie.
how it's going to work is we're going to be starting a new series, and it's called, the name's still being worked on, but it's basically the student series. So as you can see, Damien and I are quite different. I'm fresh from school, and Damien's come from a job in a previous industry. And what our plan is to do with this series is to talk to other people, whether they be at King's or they be at different unis. And we're just going to chat about our different courses and open it up so it's less about being a King student and more about being a student studying physio. So that's our plan, and that's what's going to be happening over the next few months.
Excellent, and that's absolutely true. It's a really good point to kind of just reiterate, is that we aren't the only physio students in the whole of the country. We aren't the only physio students in London. So we do want to open it up to more people, and we want to talk to them as well about their experience and what they're going through too.
Yeah. Okay, so should we kick off this episode then?
Yes, let's do it.
So this episode is almost everything you need to survive year one at uni. So how we're going to do it is we're going to break it down into 3 sections: academic, social, and kind of other tips and tricks that we wish we knew and we learned the hard way. So should we kick it off with academic then, Damien?
Yes, great, go for it.
Okay, so should I say one and then you say one?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Okay, so the first one, which we learnt, was it's okay to email the lecturers. We actually would all message on the group chat and say, oh guys, what do we do about this? I don't know. And it kind of got to the point where we just nominated somebody for that particular thing we were all stressing about, and they would just email the lecturer, and it would take so much stress off our backs because COVID, lockdown, all this stuff, your first assignment, quite stressful. So just nominating somebody to email them with all your questions instead of 50 people emailing the lecturer with the same question rephrased differently. So that's the first one.
That's a really good point, isn't it? I mean, and we did that as well, to some extent in our group. But for anyone who's not aware, Sophie and I weren't actually ever in the same group. So for my first semester, I was in Group D, and then I went into Group C for the second semester. Where were you, Sophie, for groups?
B, and then I stayed in B, but different people came.
Exactly. So we're in our different cohorts. We're never in the same group, but we've got to know each other through social events. So it's been it's really good tip to kind of make sure that we're kind of not bombarding them with all the same questions over and over again. How would you feel if you got 50 of the same questions almost every single week? That'd be annoying, wouldn't it? For the next tip, I would say very similar to making sure that you've got your support group in place with your WhatsApp is to start to build a network very early on. If you're a year one student listening to this, just about to start your degree, you're going to be placed into a small cohort of people. There you're going to be your people for the first semester. So start to build networks with them, start to find out what they enjoy, what they like, so that you can kind of really kind of understand what makes them tick and what makes them is getting them through it, so that you can rely on them. And really you're going to need each other throughout this whole first semester and also through the rest of your first year. So it's really good to start building those networks now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that goes as well for socials, in the sense of just put yourself out there, just make the friends. Because the amount of times I was like, I'd message someone on the course and be like, I don't understand it. Can you help me? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And actually, some of us became quite good friends just from me being a complete wally and not knowing what I'm doing. So that's quite good. The next thing, which kind of links into this, is about playing to your own strengths. Because some of us in our modules, they're quite varied. Some are really good at writing essays and they're happy to be like, just send it over to me and I'll check it for you. Whereas others are more anatomical and really good at knowing that stuff and have really good resources for, say, the nerve pathways or those sort of things. So playing to your strengths, kind of obviously try to get better at things you're not good at. But if you can do a little trade with someone for something you're good at and swapping for something you're not so good at, that works out for both parties. And that's very good. Like
Absolutely.
the whole social, academic, that stuff.
Yeah, I know from my own experience in the first and second semester, one thing I'm not very good at, I'm not very good at the academic side. I'm not very good at writing. I'm not very good at retaining really top anatomical knowledge. I need to work really hard at that. But something I am good at is talking to people and interacting with people. So when it comes to asking questions in seminars or in lectures, no problem. I'll be the first person to ask those questions. People in our year have labelled me big mouth. Well, Millie specifically labelled me a big mouth, but that's okay because Millie and I are friends.
I think that's a compliment.
I think that's a compliment. Well, she actually the full thing she said was a big mouth like me. So because she's very similar.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I mean, you're taking a shot for everybody, aren't you? You're asking them on behalf of everybody. So
exactly, and I hope there is somebody in every year group that can do that feels confident to do that. And play to your strengths. One of my strengths is I'm not really afraid, not really bothered by making myself look stupid. So if I don't know the answer, I'll ask. And if you're confident of doing that, then try and do it as well. Try and be that person for the rest of your cohort.
Yeah.
So on that, there are we're going to be looking at building your networks and playing to your own strengths. That's the other students as well. But also there's other resources out there. So one that I've never used that was recommended by someone in our year was and Sophie's used it, I think, called Nerd Ninja. Beg your pardon, Ninja Nerd. I've got it the wrong way around. On YouTube, which is a fantastic resource for your studies. Also, use Complete Anatomy app as well.
As well, other things like KenHub, that's a really good one.
I use KenHub. I use that one.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's good for free, like non-subscriptions and subscriptions. Personally, never got the subscription. Bit too frugal for that. Didn't know if it'd be worth it. But no, it is really good. I know someone that did buy a subscription and they kind of swear by it. Other things are referencing websites that help. I am terrible at referencing. Still don't get me to reference anything. But actually just kind of getting a website, I think citeme.com is a great one. And putting your stuff in.
Cite this for me. Cite me or cite this for me. I think it's cite this for me. Yeah, the one I use that one.
Like, yeah. I mean, you can tell I don't reference. So not great. But things like that. And yeah, I think this is actually quite a funny one that I've just looked on our notes for. And it is with our lectures being online because of COVID, sometimes you can just speed them up. So some people speak slowly, some speak really quickly, and actually just putting them on times 1.25 or 1.5 is great. Those of my friends do that throughout different courses. And it takes an hour and a half lecture and makes it 45 minutes. It's perfect.
Exactly. When you've got someone who's just speaks slowly, has a tone about them which is just maybe a bit boring. We're not going to name any names. You can actually make it a bit more interesting from that point of view. So that's great.
Yeah.
Now we had
sure.
a little debate about this one when it came through. I put it onto our WhatsApp group, our Year 2 WhatsApp group, because I just wanted to know from everybody's perspective what their thoughts were. But one of the tips that came through from someone in our group was learn the nerve pathways as early as you can. We don't suggest you learn them as soon before you actually are taught them, just in case you make an error or just in case they want to teach you something slightly different. But learn the nerve pathways as early as you can, because you are going to need them again and again and again. And the debate that we had was, which thing is easier to learn? Is it easier to learn the nerve pathways, or is it easier to learn the muscle attachments for the different compartments? And it came out basically nerve pathways were the easiest thing to learn, or the most important bit to learn on the debate. And I personally found that the muscle pathways, the muscle attachments more easier to learn. Maybe because that's something that I'm more interested in as an individual, but yeah. In terms of the group thought it was nerve pathways was the easiest to learn and most important to learn.
I guess it's about breaking it down, because effectively you need to know all of it. You need to know the nerve root, the pathway and the innervations. But when I was learning them, I didn't have much time because I had sport and other commitments. But I kind of went through it. I learned all the nerve roots and then the innervations, because what's the point of learning a nerve if you don't know what it affects?
Yes.
And then I finally stopped procrastinating and got on with learning the nerve roots, which are definitely the hardest. But I think when you think, I know where it innervates, you can roughly roughly where it's going to go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, same point with origins and insertions and actions.
And I think the next bit is then just to keep repeating that as well. So keep repeating the nerve pathways, keep repeating the things, the standard revision stuff of learn, repeat, learn, repeat, learn, repeat. And then eventually it'll go in.
Yeah, I think for those that, like me, that have come out of school or just finished A-levels and done a gap year or something like that, it's been drilled into you. So you're kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, I know I've got to have a timetable. I know this, I know that. But I think when you realise there's so much to do, it can be a bit overwhelming. So just kind of maybe a timetable. I think everybody gets to a point where they trial and error and then they know what works for them. So just buckling down and getting on with it, really.
And then for people like me, I as Sophie said, we previously had a career before this. I did an access course to make sure I was academically qualified to do university and also ready for it. But because of the end of COVID, I didn't get to finish that, unfortunately. The start of COVID, sorry, I didn't get to finish that. So it's a bit more of a challenge. It's a bit more of a we need to kind of get back into the swing of it. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people in year one who are exactly in my situation. The final point on the academic side came from David Hurley. So thank you, David, for this. But it's actually it's a bit counterintuitive what I'm going to say, but just go with me for a second. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Now, we all know that the phrase is anything worth doing is worth doing well, hopefully. What David means by that is that if you're going to spend time doing something which you hopefully love to do, hopefully that you want to do, then actually it's better to take a short amount of time learning a nerve pathway than it is to take a long amount of time not doing it at all. So it's much better to spend 10 minutes every day learning some nerve pathway stuff than it is to spend an hour watching Netflix. Anything worth doing is worth doing well, but also anything worth doing is worth doing poorly too.
Yeah, good point there. I didn't really understand it at first, but it definitely makes sense. I guess it's also linkable to quality over quantity. I mean, there's no point trying to study for 6 hours if you know you're not really capable of that. I mean, certainly I'm not. I can't sit down for an hour and a half without needing to get up and do something. But yeah, quality over quantity, and just get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's just the harsh reality of it.
Yeah.
Right, on to our social tips and tricks we wish we knew. So I'll kick this one off, and it starts with joining the, in our case, KCL Physio WhatsApp or Facebook groups. Most importantly, Facebook, because that's how you find the WhatsApp. And yeah, I think that goes for every uni. It's probably easier said than done, but you've got to just spend time scrolling to find it, or just, you know, put out a comment asking for it. Yeah, that's the first one. And I'll just quickly jump in with the second one. Think like events around and about, like Voodoo events or Fat Summer, those sort of websites are really good for getting student deals and, well, huge events that are really good fun. Probably better before COVID, but can't tell you that because I don't know. And it's just a really good way to get student deals to save money, and it's just like, it's a laugh really. I went to some last year, and it was just it was hilarious. Honestly, good night.
I didn't do any last year. I'm a bit less. I'm a bit less likely to go to a student event than
I wonder why. So the second one is that people's true colours show around February time, and you're probably thinking a bit harsh, but what I mean by that is that particularly in halls and I think courses that are very close together, like people are very close, like stereotypically, which is really bad stereotype, but dentists and medicine students are really good at, I've got loads of medicine friends that are friends of medicine friends, or healthcare, or like they stay in their bubbles really, which is cool. But in halls especially, if you are going into halls, just be aware that people's true colours show around February time, because you've got kind of 4 months at the beginning of the year where everyone's so excited about the new things, it's all fun, you're meeting those new people, and you kind of let things slide. But when it comes to about 6 months, you're like, this is not cool, dude, clean up the kitchen, you know. And I was in a flat with 4 guys, which was good fun, in a second year med student who was lovely, she was great. But when I tell you, by the time it got to February, January, I was getting a bit annoyed because it was a bit messy. And that's what I mean. Like at first it was great and you kind of excuse it. But yeah, be conscious, because it goes the same with every social thing. It just takes time to get to know people, they get to know you. And yeah, I mean, it's all fun, but just be aware. It's all good. Cool. I feel like I've made that sound worse than it actually is now.
Well, I never experienced that because I'm living at my house. Haven't gone into halls, aren't sharing with anyone. Yeah, so I've never experienced that side of it. So it's interesting to hear how people react and so on. So that's cool. Still on the social side, meeting new people is great if you're in halls, if you're living at home like I am, if you're living with your parents, if you're whatever you're doing, it's great to go out and meet new people within your specific degree or within the wider university. There's always stuff going on, and now actually we're coming out of our kind of COVID times, our lockdown times. Hopefully there's more stuff going on, more things that we can get involved in. And yeah, go out and meet some new people. That is part of the university experience, for obvious reasons. Sophie and I didn't know each other beforehand, and now we're starting to become friends. So this is great.
Yeah. Well, starting. Steady on, mate. Got you there.
Okay. No, acquaintances. We're starting to become acquaintances.
No, mates. Yeah, no, I think it just goes for every social that is going. Just go for it. I don't think it's really. Especially, I mean, some people aren't very social, but you know, even if it's not your vibe or your gig, just go to it. You don't have to be there for the whole night, but at least you showed up. People see you. You start to see people, and maybe you have you end up having a moment where you chat to someone. You're like, oh, I really don't like this, and they'll probably say, you know what, same. Let's go. Or maybe you turn out you do really like it, and it's a good group of people. But regardless, it's all about exposure. And yeah, and then you'll be able to at least say, oh, I was at this event and blah, blah, blah. And I guarantee you, at least somebody else in that room will be from that event as well, or had gone to that event. And then you can both chat about that. So it's just a conversation thing. And that's kind of what you need at freshers, because you get so used to the whole, especially if you're in halls, the way it literally went for me at every party was, hi, so-and-so, what's your name? And then you'd exchange names and you'd be like, oh, cool, what block are you in? And then you'd exchange blocks. And then you go, oh my God, really? Wow, cool. And then you'd be like, oh my God, what course are you doing? And then you'd chat about that. And then it would be like, cool, turn around, same conversation over and over. But at least if you can be like, you know, have something to say that's not just so kind of full conversation. I don't know what you call it, like what's it called, Damien? Like chit chat, social chit chat that you kind of have to do. There's a word for it.
There's a word for it. Small talk.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like
yeah. So yeah, you're right. And those kind of networking events are exactly the same when you come out of university and go into business or go into practice, and you get to social networking events, and it's basically the same format. So getting good practice now is obviously a good thing to do, but having a nugget that you can either say or even better ask someone else. So rather than saying, right, if somebody asks me, I'm going to say my hobbies, ask somebody else what their hobbies are. So rather than say which block are you staying in, or which, you know, what course are you doing, which you can find out at any point. You know, you say, oh, hello, my name's Damien. I'm really into running. What do you like? You know, or, you know, that kind of thing, where you can actually be a bit different and ask people different things that they can then respond in kind. And
for sure.
all we're looking for in these situations is to make new friends, is to find affiliations with people, and you know, and that's a great way to do that.
Yeah, I so agree with that. Actually, I think it sounds so silly, but when you're meeting somebody new, just ask a question, because my mum always used to say, you know, people love talking about themselves, whether or not you realize it or not. You love talking about yourself. I mean, guilty, love it, love a good chit chat. But you know, just ask a question to someone, like, or when you're talking, kind of add something in that's personal about you. So, for example, I could drop in the fact that, oh, you know, you could be like, oh, did you guys have a great summer? What were you doing before physio? You know, answer that, whatever. And you could drop in, oh, yeah, well, I'm a family of 5, so holidays were such a laugh, blah, blah, blah. And then instantly you've given somebody a bit of nugget about you that they can then ask questions, or, you know, how many sisters or brothers have you got? And it's just about asking questions. Like, it sounds so silly, but just be bold and ask it, because they're not going to not reply. I mean,
exactly,
they will reply.
And that's one of the things. That have that you and I have kind of got an affiliation about, because we're both one of 5, aren't we? You're one of 5, and I'm one of 5. So when I found that out, I was like, oh, no way, I'm one of 5 too. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and I'm number 4. And you were like, yeah, I'm number 1, and you know, all this kind of stuff. 2. Number two.
We get there. What else have we got? We've got getting a hobby. So whether that being cooking or clubbing or going to a social, like a weekly thing, or even it just joining a society, you kind of need that on and off time, because courses get really tense around like exams. So just being able to switch off is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've got your hobby, it might be a different hobby, might be the one that you're doing now, you then got opportunities to talk about it as well, at social events. Now this one is a bit more specific for let's call us lockdown students who went through started our year 1 in lockdown, and we were mainly at home. Is designate an area for your study, so that you can switch off. So the whole point is that you can switch off when you go to different areas.
Agree.
When I first started studying, I had the run of my house. So I was studying in my office, I was studying in my bedroom, I was studying at the kitchen table, I was studying on the sofa, I was studying anywhere and everywhere. I just had my laptop with me, and I just took it around and that can be good for a change of scenery when you're when you're studying. You know, you're looking out the back garden instead of looking out into the front street. However, I wasn't able to switch off because I'd always have my laptop with me. So it's a really good idea to just kind of have one designated area that is your study area. So when you come out of that and you force yourself to take a break, you're not still going over it over and over and over again. And you're not still, you know, keep on thinking about the same things over and over again.
And if it's not a designated area, make it designated times.
Yes.
So if you know you've got to go to a society training session or whatever, allow yourself time between to kind of let your head kind of clear and just chill out for a bit, because you can't go. What else have we got? This one's quite a good one, and I think we all know about it, but we kind of forget it, which is enjoying the whole process of studying at uni and relax, because it can be really, really overwhelming, especially when you meet up on the first day of uni and you'll kind of eventually get on to doing practical parts of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you kind of go into it thinking, I don't know anything, like physio is completely new. It's not like history or maths where you've done it at A level. You don't really do physio at A level. So go into it thinking, I don't know much. I'm probably just going to be a sponge, soak up all the information I can and just enjoy it, and, you know, ask the questions. It sounds so silly, but if you don't know what something is, guaranteed the rest of the room won't know it either, unless you're kind of this guy in our course called Eustace who knows almost everything. But guaranteed no one else knows it. So just ask the question, and if not, make a joke out of it. Just be kind of funny, because then, I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, no one else can.
Yeah, so
just kind of be that person.
Amazing.
Yeah, good stuff.
Also, it can be overwhelming being a new student. I mean, for me, less so, because I've, you know, got maybe a bit more life experience. But, you know, if you're moving out of home to do this, as Sophie did, you're going to be maybe for the first time by yourself. You know, there's some stuff that you just don't know how to do, and it's okay to ask, isn't it, Soph? So go on, give us an example.
Okay, so right, context. When I lived at home, I did laundry, I cleaned, I did everything, cool. But sometimes you just forget. It might have been that you had a really late night, or you came back from something ridiculous and you're running on 0 hours sleep, or like whatever. But it's really easy. So actually, this is really funny. Actually, one of the things I learned the hard way at uni was socks get lost at uni. End of. Okay, you won't see your socks again. You need to buy new pairs every couple of weeks. But that's because the washing machine eats your socks. I'm not even joking. And the other thing that I learned the hard way was to button up your duvet when you put it in, so your clothes don't fly into it. And then when you take it out, you've got this like big bag.
Sack.
So yeah, button up your duvet and always have money to buy new socks. I think that's pretty much it.
That's two really good tips. And, you know, things like when you are living by yourself for the first time, you know, cleaning your own area, cleaning your own stuff, may actually encourage other people that you're living with to clean up their own stuff in their own area too. If you're always presenting yourself and being clean in your stuff, then it may be that they will follow suit. So
yeah, or maybe not. In that case, don't get your expectations too high. Other things that are really good that aren't social or academic, or maybe we don't know where to categorize them, is if you're going to live in halls, get loads of hangers, because there's not much wardrobe space, but loads of hanging space. Second thing is student union deals. A lot of them do early bird stuff, and it's like 50% cheaper, so save your money. And join sports teams or join a society, even if it's just one or none. But it helps with the social, it gives you someone to be, and at the end of the day, it's about your CV, as well as having fun, because part of it with COVID is, I mean, we've not done much for last year. So when you can do something, just go do anything.
Go and do it.
I mean, I joined basketball society and I can't shoot a basketball to save my life. Was hilarious, met some lovely new people, but it's all about that, isn't it?
Exactly, and I kind of done half of that. I didn't specifically join a sports society, mainly because of where I live. I live miles away from actual university, and I commute in. But I started my own in the sense that a small group of us, JP, Andy, and now Eustace, are trying to run more regularly together, trying to stay fit as well. Just so happens that we're also all mature students too, so we get to have similar chats. So
Yeah, it's quite good though. A sense of community.
exactly.
Right. Anything else that we've forgotten?
I can't think of anything else. No. So if you've got any other tips that you'd like to share, or the ones that you've heard, whether you're a year 2 student, whether you're a year 1 student, or on none of those, you're year 3, or you've just finished, and you'd like to share those, then please do get in contact via the Instagram page, Student Physio Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love you to listen to this recording, and to send it on to your friends who are just starting university as well, and to like and to share as well.
Perfect. Right. We'll see you later. See you for the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Bye bye.